Hey there my lovelies, and welcome to my BookTube channel, The Sassy Library Fox. My name is V, and today we're going to talk about my February wrap-up video. Yeah, February was a short month. Due to that, I didn't finish reading all too many books. You might say I took a too big bite to chew when I started to read Iron Flame, but yeah. I also gotta admit that February was a rather busy month. Work-wise, I was on a business trip and I had all the good intentions to read, but fact was, at the end of the day, my head was like this and I didn't get in any reading. So yeah, I was pretty busy in February, and due to that I only managed to read 3 books. The 3 books I managed to read had a lot of pages though, so I count this as a win. I got my cheat sheets here, I got my coffee at the ready. I'm gonna take a sip. And let's just do this, because from the ratings they were all good, and yeah, I'm very curious what you will think about my thoughts on those books. So the first book I read and finished in February was The Honeys by Sala, and I gave that one 4.5 paws because I really enjoyed it. It was queer horror once again. Honestly, I think I can't remember a single queer horror book I didn't give a high rating, because they're always very unique and surprised me in the best way possible. This one was no different to the rule. I really enjoyed it so much. I mean, we basically have Mars, and Mars has a twin sister named Caroline, and the book already starts with Mars' sister Caroline in the summer holidays, and she returned early from Aspen. No one knows why. Her family took her back in. Mars and her didn't talk all that much lately. They kind of had a drift between them, and Mars didn't know why. But then one night Caroline attacks them and falls badly, which ends in her death. So Mars thinks there must be more to Caroline returning from Aspen so early, and they decide that they want to check out Aspen and find out the reason why Caroline behaved so weird before she died. Yeah, Caroline was part of a group named the Honeys, beautiful, privileged girls that tend to the honey hives behind their cabin. They are always more to themselves than they are part of the camp, and Mars is trying to find a way to get to know them and to find out what happened to their sister. I'm using they them pronouns here because Mars is gender fluid and Mars changes their gender, so sometimes it will be she, her pronouns, and other times it will be they them, and on rare occasions it's he, him. So yeah, I loved the gender fluid representation. I loved the discussions with Wyatt. Wyatt is the nephew of the woman that owns the camp, and Wyatt is showing Mars around, and Mars is basically shoved back into all the gender binary and all the stereotypes you can think of, and they don't take well to that, and the only person that actually wants to get to know them is Wyatt. And he really tries to understand them and asks very important questions. And I just love that Mars didn't give into this toxic masculinity that was at the camp. They try to befriend the honeys and actually manage to do so, but very often memories are missing and Mars is thinking that they might go crazy. Yeah, it's all very mysterious, all very interesting, considering that the honeys are called the honeys, that the book is named The Honeys, and that there are beehives. They tend to... You can imagine that the horror elements have to do with... Yeah, what? Bees, exactly. Very creepy. I'm not an ultra big fan of bees because, yeah, I don't react well to them stinging, so this was a little bit of extra horror for me, if you want to put it like that. But it was really so well done and very surprising up until the very end. I never saw the plot twists coming. They came snap, snap, snap in one go, and I was reeling. So yeah, I loved it. I rated it 4.5 paws, even though the ending was kind of bittersweet for me. Yeah, but I really liked Mars as an MC, and it was great. It was totally something different, and I really appreciated that. Okay, book number 2 was an ARC I got from NetGalley and the offer, and it was Stolen Moments by A.B. Jackson. I rated it 4 paws. I really enjoyed this story. It was great. It was the perfect read for me because it's basically about a musician, a famous musician named Alexander Morgan. And Alexander Morgan is staying at a hotel during his, I think there were 6 days in which he played the O2 Arena in England, London. And he stays at a hotel for those 6 days. And when he's coming back from a concert, the screaming fans are all around, and Christopher Forrest arrives as well. And Christopher has no idea why those fans are so crazy and who is staying at the hotel. His sister just got him a room there so that he can attend the wedding that is taking place at the hotel in a couple of days. So yeah, Christopher and Alexander meet in the elevator, and it's quite the frosty first contact, because Christopher is totally annoyed with the fan masses and with the bus going on after his very long flight from LA, and Alexander is very amused by Christopher having no regard for the security detail that is supposed to keep Alexander safe, and having no regard for the fact that he's actually a pop star, you might say. So yeah, that intrigues Alexander, and they start to get to know each other because, quite honestly, Chris is very intrigued by Alexander as well. And it's more like not love at first sight, but attraction at first sight, and they want to get to know each other and try to find each other and be in each other's vicinity. So yeah, lust at first sight, you might say, attraction at first sight. The entire book plays in the time span of like 7 days, so they don't have a lot of time to get to know each other. They have a couple of steamy moments together, stolen moments, haha, see what I did there. Yeah, the ending was quite a cliffhanger ending, but thankfully I already knew that this is going to be a trilogy, and that was just the first book. As for, there were a lot of serious topics that were tackled, like, For instance, Christopher's background story with his family, with his mother that doesn't approve of him and basically blames him for his father's death. The relationship with his sister isn't all that well either, because she rarely defends him against their mom, and rather prefers peace and quiet. Yeah. On the other side, we have Alexander, who was an alcoholic and got sober and struggles with stardom and the demands everyone makes. Paul and Connie, Paul is his manager and Connie is also manager, I think, assistant or something, and they just pack his schedule, even though he tells them that he has no energy after a world tour and that he just wants to get it over with, the tour, and have some peace and quiet. And yeah, there's a lot of pressure on his shoulders and he falls back into drinking. I know a lot of people in the reviews, I read a couple of them, address the topic of Alexander basically making fun of his sponsor, who is supposed to take care of him and who is supposed to keep him away from drinking. And yeah, I think that was done realistically, because I know a lot of people said they didn't like that he made fun of her and that he couldn't take her seriously because of her blue hair or whatever. And personally, I think the author with that tried to convey that Alex isn't yet at the stage of actually acknowledging his addiction. He is still denying that he has a problem. For him it's still, oh, just one drink won't kill me and won't set the world on fire. So I think that that interaction with his sponsor said a lot about his journey and that he still didn't get far enough in his journey as a sober person. I think it was understandable that he made fun of her, because as long as he makes fun of his sponsor, he doesn't have to reflect on his own actions and why he feels the need to drink alcohol, even if he claims that he is no alcoholic. Yeah. So I personally saw this scene differently than other people, but I think the author tackled a lot of heavy topics as well that weren't all that extensively approached. But since this is a trilogy, I think that we will see more progress in the other two books. At least I hope there will be more progress. And I really liked Alex and Chris as characters. They were both great. They had great chemistry. They had a couple of really nice scenes and moments. Of course, a week is too short to say if their love will survive all the hustle and bustle that is going around on Alexander's watch. There was also a little bit of a topic of stalker-ish behavior that was handled as well. Once again, I think this was handled really fast, but then again, quite honestly, if you are an idol and there is a stalker, police and security will deal with them quickly ASAP and will keep their star or idol safe. So I think as an idol themselves, and we only get Chris and Alex's point of views here, I think from the perspective of an idol, things like that are handled pretty fast and quickly, and they don't get a lot to see of their stalkers because they got security, they got police everywhere, and those things are just handled very fast. So from Alex's perspective, this must have gone the usual way. What I find really interesting is that apparently the author has a lot of background when it comes to being on tour and being backstage. So I think those things went into the book, and I really appreciate that. And also another thing that was great about this book was that it has its own soundtrack. Alex has songs he plays at his concerts, and we get, I think, 4 of those songs as actual songs to listen to. And I don't know if the author recorded them himself, if he wrote those songs or not, but I really like them. 2 of them, Stolen Moments, is like such an upbeat and eye-winking number. I can't say it any differently. It's a little bit cheeky, I love it. But my absolute favorite is My Anchor. I love it. It's written so well. I love the lyrics and the entire music composition around it. So yeah, this book comes with its own soundtrack as well, and this was great. I loved it. I could really imagine Alexander playing those songs in front of a huge crowd and all of them going crazy. So I read it that one with 4 paws, and I had a fun time reading it. I'm looking forward to book 2 because after that cliffhanger, I honestly need to know how it continues. I like that not all the problems were resolved and that a lot of them were still open. Makes me look forward to the next book in the series. Okay. And last but not least, the 3rd book I read in February is Iron Flame by Rebecca Yarros. And so far I still didn't finish the last couple of pages here. I'm like at, I think, 90% or so, so there isn't going to be a lot left to read. I will finish this book today, or at least tomorrow. And yeah, as for what it is about, it's the 2nd book in the series. We got Violet and Xaden. Violet is in her 2nd year at Basquiat War College, you might say. She is trying to survive, just like in the 1st year. And there is a lot of politics and background things going on. Xaden is on and off page. Whenever they meet, things get very steamy. They have a trust problem and trust issues because Violet wants to know everything and wants to get full disclosure, while Xaden tells her that he can't tell her everything, and that at some things she just has to trust him to do the right thing. And Violet doesn't want to have any of it, and this conflict, I swear, it's been going through all of those pages. And I don't know, I really enjoyed the 1st book. There was a lot of chemistry, there were sexy scenes as well, but in here everything is solved with having sexy times together. They disagree, and they agree that they disagree, but then they just jump into bed together, and all the things and issues they have with each other remain unsolved. And this has been going on for about, 550 pages or so already. And yeah, I'm not that happy about how this book turned out. It are 640 pages, and I think if you've cut away 200 of them, you still would have conveyed the message, and it would have been better for the book, because we don't have all too much plot in here, and it would be told in a couple of sentences, but it takes the entire book to get to a place, or the place where it needs to be. I gotta admit, at the halfway mark, I was very surprised about the direction this book took, but Then I took a step back and thought that this was just very realistic and actually to be expected at some point. And we basically didn't really change the setting at all, even though we're supposed to believe that the setting changed. I know I'm talking cryptic here, but I don't want to spoil anything. For everyone who doesn't want to get spoiled now, please don't continue those next couple of minutes because I will spoil a little bit here. And here goes nothing. Spoilers. I think I didn't expect that they would get out of Basquiat because Violet is still in her second year and she has to conclude her apprenticeship or whatever they call it. She has to finish the school to be an actual writer. But then Xaden saves her and they go to Xaden's old home and take a lot of writers with them. So basically they just continue the school setting at Xaden's home. And then the other flyers of the Griffins join them and they join forces because they know that they can't fight the Venin on their own. So we just have an entirely new school setting that is using some of the old elements and taking a couple of new flyers with their Griffins into account, but from the school setting nothing changed. And I think they could have come to that faster. There were so many pages I thought were unnecessary and could have been handled faster. Also, the death of Varish, I mean, he had it coming, and of course he was Violet's enemy and sooner or later he needed to die, but I honestly thought that he would be around longer. And also, what the hell is going on with the resurrection of Jack? I think his name was Jack. He was basically squashed under a rock and he survived. And why did they even want him to survive? What's the reason for that? Yeah, I'm sorry if this looks a little bit different than the rest of the video, but my camera just died. I think I should have loaded the battery better. But yeah, my point is, what is the reason for Jack returning? Maybe it will be offered in the last like 10% of the story. I still have yet to read, but yeah, I think the book could have been shorter. There could have been a little bit less sexy times and not every conflict needs to be solved with this. And yeah, I think that's basically my stance on things now. As for the final rating, at the moment it's 3.5 paws and I honestly don't know if I will change it or not. If I do, I will let you know up there and blend it in. Yeah, so much for that and for the books I read in February. Yeah, I think that's it. I would love to hear your thoughts on this. Do you agree on Iron Flame and my thoughts about this book? Did you read Stolen Moments yet? And if yes, you should definitely listen to the soundtrack to the book. What else? Yeah, I think that's it. And if you want to like, comment, subscribe, whatever. So this said, I think there's really nothing left to say except of take care, stay healthy and safe, and see you around the next time. Bye!